So, you're looking for non-stop adventure, hair-raising excitement, and laugh-a-minute fun. And, on top of it all, you want to get out of town for a little while.
Well, wake up, listen up, and sign up, because we have all that and a whole lot more. And you could very easily be here next June.
It's called the Youth Tour. It's a pedal to the metal, non-stop, action-packed, all expense-paid capital adventure.
For more than 30 years, the Electric Cooperatives of Texas has been sending Lone Star State teenagers just like you on the Government in Action Youth Tour. But the capital adventure doesn't start here. It starts where you are right now. So do whatever it takes to be here next June, because this trip is a wide-eyed shoot, scoot, and eat and run experience of a lifetime.
Okay, here's the deal. You do whatever it takes to get on the youth tour. And then they tell you that there's a 3-day bus ride waiting on you before you can see DC. Oh yeah, you think, this is going to be fabulous. But guess what? It is. We watch movies to while the time, play wonder games to satisfy our competitive urges, and of course, sleep when there's nothing else going on.
Tall, really tall. That's the best way to describe the Washington Monument. Believe it or not, it's the world's tallest stone structure and towers above everything else in our nation's capital city. From the top, you get a spectacular view of all the other monuments and buildings that make Washington such a special place.
Mount Vernon is the home of one of America's greatest men, George Washington.
This is where he retreated when he wasn't leading the Revolutionary Army or performing his duties as America's first president.
The beautiful Georgian mansion he called home has been faithfully restored to its colonial splendor. As you stroll through the rooms, you almost expect the general himself to step out and greet you.
Not far away is the final resting place of the man who did so much to take America from a dream to a reality.
Singers, musicians, jokesters, and actors fill the halls of the Kennedy Center of the Performing Arts with some of the most talented performances in the world. This place is the Showcase Performance Center in the United States. It is also an awesome place to just walk through and visit. There is the Hall of Flags, which has flags from every nation of the world, and the Great Hall, which is more than 2 football fields long. There are several private reception areas that are exquisitely decorated. All in all, we had a great time.
Ford's Theater was just another run-of-the-mill playhouse when President Abraham Lincoln attended a Friday night performance of Our American Cousin in April of 1865. One shot from a small pistol would change that forever. Today, the presidential box looks the same as it did on that faithful night. Downstairs, there's a museum that houses many artifacts of that event, including the bloodstained clothes the president was wearing and the gun John Wilkes Booth used to kill him.
Standing on the steps of our nation's capital is what it's all about. It's really cool to know that so many great Americans have stood on this exact spot throughout history. Having your picture taken here makes you a part of that history. It's just another stop on the Capitol adventure.
The inside of the Capitol building is really breathtaking. At the top of the rotunda is a work of art that is awesome. There sits George Washington, surrounded by angels, looking down on all who enter this grand room. There's also world-famous art that depicts important events in America's history. And in the old House chamber, which is now called Statuary Hall, is the whisper spot where you can hear someone whispering from all the way across the room. On the youth tour, you just never know who you're going to bump into. This is definitely a picture from my scrapbook.
One of the highlights of the youth tour is meeting with your congressman. Yeah, we did that, but we did something really special. We held a press conference with our congressman in front of the Capitol building.
Well, this is one of the very happy events that we have every year, where I get to welcome the Texas Electric Cooperatives Government in Action Youth Tour, the winners from each of the cooperatives from the 17th District that, because they have won a contest, are here representing their cooperative, and it's a wonderful opportunity for them to get to see their government in action, for me to get to visit with them in my office as we did this morning, and then for them to see our nation's capital and to learn as much about this city as they can in a very short period of time.
The National Archives is where some of our country's most important historical treasures are housed. Included in them is the Declaration of Independence, which created the United States, and the Constitution that guarantees our freedom. Seeing these two documents in person makes you feel what a privilege it is to be an American. It is a legacy that has been handed down through the generations, and is our responsibility to pass it on to the future.
We went to the Sunset Parade at the Iwo Jima Memorial, and the Marines were really spectacular and cute. The Drum and Bugle Corps, dressed in their red uniforms, marched in precise lines. And then the Marines did a maneuver called the silent drill, where everything was done without commands. It was pretty awesome.
A new monument was just recently dedicated to President Franklin Delano Roosevelt here in Washington, D.C. His powerful words impacted lives as well as his New Deal legislation. Rural electrification was one of his many contributions to the American public, and the basis why we are here today on the Youth Tour.
It's not the largest house in America, it's not the most expensive, but it certainly is one of the most important.
Presidents may come and go, but the White House remains a symbol of the power and prestige of the presidency.
On our Capitol adventure, we saw many rooms that were decorated exquisitely by past occupants of this place.
As you walk through, you get a sense of history and what it must be like to be the leader of this great nation.
Many people think that the Smithsonian Institution is just a red brick castle, but it's actually a lot more. It's a huge collection of museums that line the mall in Washington, D.C. Yes, you can go shopping, but there's also a lot more to do.
Like here in the Air and Space Museum, where you see flying machines of every size and shape. Start with that bird up there. It's the Wright Flyer, which started this whole flying craze in 1903. And there's the Spirit of St. Louis that Charles Lindbergh flew across the Atlantic in 1927. And there's the first plane to break the sound barrier. And there's an Apollo spacecraft that went to the moon and back. This place is the most visited museum in the world. After seeing it in person, you'll understand why.
And for us, the culturally refined kind, there's the National Art Gallery, which houses some of the most famous paintings in the world. This recently appointed museum is a virtual visual delight that combines colors and shapes to raise the mind to a new level of consciousness. Pardon me, but would you have any grapefruit, Paul?
And for us history buffs, there's the American History Museum. Here you can see the legacy of what life was like in the olden days. On displays are machines they invented and exhibits of what everyday life was like for our forefathers and mothers. This place really gives you a sense of how far America has come in a relatively short time.
So the next time some smarty pants starts yakking about the Smithsonian being just a red brick castle, you can set them straight. And remember, you could be here live and in person in Washington on the Youth Tour next June.
Went to a musical at Ford's Theater called Paperman. There was singing and dancing, and we all had a great time.
Another highlight of the Youth Tour is the Rural Youth Day, where all the states gather together for a great big meeting. We hear speeches by the leaders of rural electric cooperatives, see some interesting and educational skits, and the highlight of the day is the energy battle, where you have teams which compete against each other.
Union Station is still an active train station right in the heart of Washington, D.C. But we came there for some food and shopping, and there's some really great shopping. But it was neat to see the travelers there to catch a train.
The Washington National Cathedral is a concept conceived by George Washington himself.
His idea was that people of all faiths would have a church where they could come and worship.
This magnificent structure took over 90 years to complete and was built entirely with donated funds.
Its classic Gothic architecture is faithful right down to the gargoyles overlooking its entrance.
Inside, this beautiful building awes the eyes and lifts the spirits.
Its huge sanctuary welcomes all like a safe harbor from the storm. Each of the many stained glass windows tells a story. Some relate Bible tales, while others depict life in modern times. There's even a window that has a rock from the moon in it. It's just another fantastic stop on the Capitol adventure.
After all the touring and visiting all the monuments in Washington, D.C., we finally get to let our hair down at one great big dance. All the states are there, and we really have a great time. But the people from Texas really showed them how it was done.
Some are known to many, and some are known to few, and some are known only to God. The Arlington National Cemetery is a resting place for over 200,000 soldiers who have fought in wars ranging from the Revolution to Desert Storm. This place is truly amazing because no matter what direction you look at the headstones, they form straight lines. This symbolizes that the troops are still in formation and waiting to defend America if she needs them.
I helped lay a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldiers. It was really a great honor for me. I was thinking about all the people that had gave their life so that I could stand here and be able to do this. That could have been my grandfather or my uncle that fought in this war or that war. As the bugler was playing taps, I thought about all the men that had fought and died in wars for America, and it made me very thankful and appreciate our freedom even more.
I come from a town so small that when you talk about mass transit, it means 3 or 4 pickup trucks lined up at the Dairy Queen. But in Washington, D.C., we got to ride the Metro. It was true mass transit. The trains were so full that you felt like a sardine, but it was really cool.
We started our visiting of the memorials with the Vietnam War Memorial. And as we walked down the wall and read all of the names, I realized how awful it was that so many people had to die, and all that's left of so many of them is their name on a wall.
One of the newer memorials in Washington, D.C. is the Korean War Memorial, dedicated to those men and women who fought almost half a century ago. We visited it just as the sun was going down. You can look out and see the squad of men as though they are walking through this rice paddy. One of the most impressive lines that I saw on any memorial was that freedom is not free.
The Lincoln Memorial is very beautiful. To get to the top, you have to climb these huge steps. But once the climb is over, you realize that it was really worth it. When you look at the statue, the eyes seem to follow you no matter where you go. I was really thankful that our country had a president like Lincoln.
We visited the Jefferson Memorial. It was so beautiful when you walked up all the steps. When you saw Jefferson, his statue, you'd look at the statue from every direction and you saw the expressions on his face and you kind of felt how he felt. And it just made you feel really special inside.
Every night on the youth tour, we get together and have a sing thing. It's a chance for us to mingle with our friends and really let our hair down. Let me hear you sing it, children.
Lookout Mountain, Tennessee is where the youth tour traditionally holds its Father's Day devotional. After traveling together for more than a week, we become like one big family. We ride a cable car almost a mile up into the sky. The clouds are so close, it's like you can almost reach out and touch them. At the top, our service is touching and emotional because we know that soon we'll have to say goodbye to all our newfound friends.
Well, that's the youth tour, a capital adventure where you get to see Washington, D.C. up close and personal. See how the nation's government works firsthand, and if you want to, be a statue for a little while. I don't think these guys will be staying around too much longer once the pigeons get here. Do whatever it takes to be here next June because the youth tour is a capital adventure you'll never forget.